It's not something you like to see. I was like, why is he going in wild lane? Ah! Is that sign shorter, or is that just me? Like, really short. Like that stop sign's been pounded into the ground. I guess that'll keep any people from pulling out all the stops. So, I have a pet mouse named Marco that I've not mentioned. I don't know why. I've talked about my rat, talked about my German Shepherd, but I had a pet mouse named Marco. Notice I said had. I bought him right after, hey buddy, your turn signal's on. I bought him right after Marco Simoncelli died in that MotoGP crash. I got another mouse, and in his honor named him Marco. Marco was fun, he was playful. He got along well with the other mice, although he would tease them a lot. They all loved him, but he would definitely instigate things. He outlived any other mouse I've ever had. He lived a long time. Pretty healthy most of his life. He got old and feeble, you know, got to the part where he couldn't see as well, and he couldn't move around as well, and he was just kind of more grumpy. But he was still, you know, he'd come when you coaxed him to, and he'd eat from your hand still, and he was still a good mouse. And checked on him the other night before I went to bed, because he was so old and he moved around so little that I would always like make sure he was still, like I'd wake him up if he was sleeping, because I wasn't sure if he was sleeping or not. And you know, he'd move and like look at me like, why are you waking me up? And I'd be like, sorry dude, I just want to make sure you're still alive. So I did that before I went to bed, and woke up the next morning. His body was still warm, but he must have recently died. 2 up on a scooter. Yeah. And so he'd recently died and was definitely dead. And it was really sad. I was like, oh. So I pulled him out of the cage and set him on a paper towel for a minute and took Ruth out of the cage because she was in there with him. And she hadn't messed with him. I mean, she would always keep him warm, and like she'd go check on him and kind of nurse him, because rats are very nurturing by nature. And so she hadn't hurt him or messed with him. He had no bite. He was just very, very old, and you know. Anyway, so I took her out of the cage too, obviously. Cleaned the cage really good. Cleaned Ruth. Put Ruth back in the clean cage. The only thing, I didn't have any like bags or boxes or anything, so I took tin foil, aluminum foil, and wrapped Marco in the tin foil, and you know, cinched it up really good so no air or anything could get in, and nothing would be able to disturb him, and set him out on the back in the grass next to the back deck with the intention of you know, burying him over the weekend, you know, having a nice little solemn moment, a little quiet moment with my mouse. And so without thinking, I wasn't thinking about it. I didn't put, and the lawn guy came by to mow, and irony of ironies, I guess this would be a fitting burial, ran over Marco's little makeshift casket, and bits of Marco went everywhere. So Marco, instead of getting buried, got ran over. Anybody else see the irony in this? So, yeah, Marco got run over by the lawnmower. I just thought that was really kind of, like, I felt bad finding it kind of, not funny, because obviously it meant something to me. I wouldn't have named a pet after the guy. But I think Marco's sense of humor, if he were still here, I think he would even find that a little amusing. Oh, I'm like so busy looking for traffic, I got a green light. I know you! Oh.